Incredible missing person case. Baby Holly disappeared with her parents back in 1980 in Texas, and the bodies of the adults were found months later, but there was never any trace of the young couple's baby until now.
Good afternoon and welcome to True Crime Mysteries. If you're new to the channel, hello and welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. Today, we'll be discussing the recent discovery that baby Holly, missing for 42 years, has been found alive and well, and also the mystery surrounding the cold case murder of her parents. Let's get into it. In 1975, in New Smyrna, Florida, a young couple, 17-year-old Tina Gail Lynn and 21-year-old Dean Klaus, get married. High school sweethearts, the couple soon welcomed their daughter they named Holly. After Holly was born, the couple decided to relocate to Texas, where Dean had lined up a construction job and left behind their families. They packed up their car and set out to start their new lives in Texas. Initially, the couple kept in frequent contact with their families, but the calls and letters suddenly stopped. The last contact was in April of 1980. It wasn't initially thought of as a cause for concern, but Dean's family received a strange call. A woman who called herself Sister Susan said she was calling from Los Angeles, California. She told Donna that she had information about Tina and Dean, and that she was in possession of Dean's car and offered to bring the vehicle to Florida in exchange for $1,000. The car had been purchased by Donna and gifted to Dean for the move. Donna agreed to meet the woman, but also alerted authorities. They agreed to meet at the Daytona racetrack. The Klaus family was confused when 3 women in white robes, possibly one male, stepped out of the vehicle. Sister Susan told Donna that Dean and Tina had joined a religious group and did not want to be contacted by family members. She further stated that the couple had given up all of their possessions. The women were reportedly taken into custody, but no police report of the incident was ever found, and because the couple were adults, no investigation was taken at that time. Donna stated that she hadn't been surprised that Dean had joined a cult. He had expressed interest and had been involved in a different cult in Florida, but she thought that he'd put it past him when he married Tina. After this encounter, no one heard from Tina or Dean ever again. It was in 1981 in Houston, Texas, when 2 bodies were discovered in a wooded area. It was a man and woman found in a shallow grave, buried together. The cause of death was deemed to be homicide. The man appeared to have been beaten to death, while the woman had injuries consistent with strangulation, and in the grave was a bloody towel and green gym shorts. They estimated that they had been killed 2 months before the discovery. The bodies had no identification, and there weren't any missing person report that matched. Composite sketches were done and released to the media, but no one came forward. The bodies remained unidentified for decades. They were buried in the Harris County and were given the names Harris County Jane and John Doe. In 2021, Texas established a dedicated statewide cold case unit for the first time to start going through the 20,000 unsolved murders in the state. The cold case team started accepting cases in the fall of 2021, and one of the first cases they decided to open was that of the Harris County Jane and John Doe. They first decided to have the bodies exhumed in order to get DNA samples from the 2 of them. Genetic genealogy was done, and soon the bodies were identified as Tina and Dean Klaus, who had been missing since 1981. Law enforcement started their investigation, which led them to speak to the families of the deceased. Very quickly, they learned that the couple had a young daughter, and a search began to find baby Holly. Dean's mother said that she was devastated to learn that Dean and Tina had been murdered so soon after they stopped communication. Though she had missed her son over the years, she had hoped the family had been living out their lives, but had always feared the worst. Both Tina's family and Dean's family had never given up hope that they might one day have answers. Law enforcement from multiple agencies set to work trying to find Holly, and in June 2022 they made the discovery that no one had thought possible. Holly Klaus, now 42, was found in Oklahoma.
Investigators finding Holly this week in Oklahoma, telling her the truth about her biological parents. She's seen here holding a picture of them.
She has her mother's her mother's smile, and she has her mother's voice.
The Klaus and Lynn families meeting her for the first time this week on a video call.
When I looked at her, I remembered the times that I used to hold her in my arms, and I just wanted to hug her. I just wanted to get up and hug her so bad, but it was Zoom, and you can't.
Still, it is a bittersweet reunion. Authorities now want the public's help in finding whoever murdered Dean and Tina.
Some details have not been released to protect the ongoing investigation, but it was revealed that shortly after the murder of Tina and Dean, Holly had been left at a church in Arizona and adopted by the pastor and his wife of the church. They had renamed the infant. She never knew her birth name, birth family, or parents. Holly's adopted parents were not suspects. They revealed details about the circumstances that brought Holly to their front door. 2 women dressed in white robes and barefoot. They identified themselves as members of a nomadic religious group. The women spoke about their beliefs, saying that their religion included separating male and female members and practicing vegetarian habits. They also stated that their religion prevented them from wearing leather goods. These group members also indicated that they had previously given up another baby at a laundromat. Experts have identified the group as likely being the nomadic cult called Christ's Family, which had been led by Charles McHugh. The group had been known to wander the southern United States for years and had been active in Texas in 1981. The Texas General Attorney's Office went on to state that the members of the group are believed to have traveled to Arizona, California, and possibly Texas. The members of the nomadic group had been spotted in Yuma, Arizona during the 1980s, with the female members asking the public for food. McHugh, who called himself Lightning Amen, believed himself to be Jesus reincarnated, and at the group's highest had 2,000 members. McHugh encouraged excessive drug use and demanded that members give up their former lives and earthly possessions. Children within the cult were viewed as excessive baggage, and it was required that all children be given up. If Tina and Dean had been involved with this or recruited into this cult, they would have been required to give up Holly, and it is still unknown what led to their deaths. The FBI had noted that this particular group as non-violent. However, the leader was seen as dangerous and unpredictable. McHugh had been arrested in 1985 for possession and transporting methamphetamines for the purpose of sale, as well as weapons charges. At his arrest, he was also found to be in possession of several weapons, various other drugs, and $4,200 in cash. He was convicted along with 4 other followers and went to prison for a bit. Another incident in 1985 was when 10 cult members were arrested for growing over $900,000 worth of cannabis at a compound in California. The cult broke up when McHugh was in prison. When he was released, he had a small following until his death in 2010, though there are still active members of Christ's Family. Holly, whose adopted name has been withheld to protect her family's privacy, has 5 children of her own and even is a grandmother. She has been reunited with her birth family, who has welcomed her return. Their reunification is being facilitated by experts. Family members are relieved that Holly had a good life and was well cared for all of these years.
We had nightmares, almost every night, wondering, what happened to Holly.
It is a question Debbie Brooks, Holly's aunt, and Donna Casasanta, Holly's grandmother, have been asking themselves for decades.
All kinds of things go through your mind, but you never are ever have rest.
This morning, after 40 years of searching, they can finally rest a bit easier with the answer.
And they called us and found Holly. That night I was able to go to bed.
The investigation into the murders of Dean and Tina Klaus is still ongoing. Little is known about what may have happened to the couple. Had they refused to give up Holly and was killed by McHugh or other members? The timeline puts the time of murder around the same time the car was returned to Florida. If anyone has information about their deaths, they are asked to please contact the Texas Attorney General's Cold Case and Missing Persons Unit.
In 1981, 2 deceased individuals were discovered in the wooded area in Houston, Texas. Their identities could not be determined at that time. What law enforcement did know is that they were likely murdered. Decades later, in 2021, the organization Identifiers International was able to positively identify the bodies that were found in 1981 through the use of genetic testing. The couple was from Florida, and their names were Tina Gail Lynn Klaus and Harold Dean Klaus. They were a young couple. We learned this couple had an infant daughter named Holly, who was not found with the remains of the Klauses. And so the search for baby Holly began. The Lynn and Klaus families have been searching for answers concerning the Klauses and their baby daughter Holly since they were last heard from in 1980. Last year, when the families learned that the 2 bodies found in Houston in 1981 were in fact Tina and Dean Klaus, the families began looking for answers as to what happened to baby Holly and the circumstances surrounding the deaths of the Klauses. Through collaborative efforts of the Texas Attorney General's Office Cold Case and Missing Persons Unit, the Louisville Police Department, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office in Florida, the Arizona Attorney General's Office, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, I'm excited to announce that baby Holly has been located alive and well 42 years later. I also am happy to announce that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have offered and will be paying for Holly to be reunited in person with the Lynn and Klaus families. Holly has been notified of the identities of her biological parents and got to meet her extended biological for the family for the first time this Tuesday. They hope to meet in person soon, and NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, is going to facilitate that meeting. This investigation highlights the hard work and collaboration of multiple law enforcement agencies working together across the country and demonstrates the importance of continuing to investigate cold cases both in Texas and in the United States. Now, this next part I'm sharing with you today because we're asking for help from the public because we have yet to solve this particular crime. While we rejoice today that Holly has been found and families that were looking for her for decades rejoice, we still are looking for suspects in this case. And I want to share that information with you, and I want to say this again. If you have information in this case, and I'm about to share some facts with you, but if you have information about this case, please contact the Texas Attorney General's Office Cold Case Unit at coldcaseunit@oag.texas.gov. That's coldcaseunit@oag.texas.gov. And our phone number as well for this investigation is 512-936-0742. The following information is released today regarding our investigation in hopes that people will hear this story and come forward with more information. Baby Holly was left at a church in Arizona and was taken into their care. Out of respect for Holly and her family, we won't have any further comments or details regarding that at this time. The family that raised Holly are not suspects in this case. 2 women who identified themselves as members of a nomadic religious group brought Holly to the church. They were wearing white robes and they were barefoot. They indicated the beliefs of their religion included the separation of male and female members, practicing vegetarian habits, and not using or wearing leather goods. The women indicated they had given up a baby before at a laundromat. It is believed that this particular group traveled around southwestern United States, including Arizona, California, and possibly Texas. There were sightings of this religious group around the Yuma, Arizona area in the early 80s. The women members would be seen around town at various points asking for food. In late December 1980 or early January 1981, the families of Tina Lynn Klaus and Harold Dean Klaus received a phone call from someone identifying herself as Sister Susan, who explained she was calling from Los Angeles, California, and wanted to return Tina and Dean's car to their family. She further stated that Tina and Dean had joined their religious group and no longer wanted to have contact with their families. They were also giving up all of their possessions. Sister Susan asked for money in exchange for returning the car to Florida, where the family lived. The family agreed, but contacted the local authorities about the situation. The family agreed to meet Sister Susan at the Daytona racetrack in Florida. The family described meeting 2 to 3 women and possibly 1 male, and once again, these women were wearing robes and appeared to be members of this religious group. The police purportedly took the women into custody, but there is no record of a police report on file that has been found as of yet. Given the age of this case, that is common. We're still on the hunt for that police report. The return car belonged to Dean's mother and was, in fact, the car that they had in their possession. And this is the description of the vehicle. It's a 1978 2-door red burgundy AMC Concord. Tina Lynn Klaus and Harold Dean Klaus were likely murdered between December 1980 or early January 1981. Their bodies were found off of Wallaceville Road in Harris County, Texas. I'm going to repeat that. Their bodies were found off of Wallaceville Road in Harris County, Texas. And this was between January 6th and January 11th of 1981. They were last heard from by their families in late October 1980, and they had been living in Lewisville, Texas in October of 1980, around that time. If you have any information regarding these murders, we ask that you come forward, even if it's a piece of information that may not be concrete evidence. We need to find pieces of the puzzle to solve this crime. The Texas AG's Office Cold Case Unit and the law enforcement agencies that work with us are committed to bringing justice in this case. We wish Holly the best. We're grateful that we found her, but we must continue with our purpose of finding who murdered this couple.
Well, that is it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you like this content and what I do over here, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. As always, if you can give this video a like if you enjoyed the content and want to support the channel, that would be much appreciated as it helps to grow. We also have channel membership and Patreon if you want to get more exclusive content or just to support the channel. You will also find in the description box links to all my socials to connect with me, as well as other goodies. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.